Today we're diving deep into a topic that honestly shapes so much around us, often without us even noticing. We're talking about brands and branding. Every logo, every name, every slogan you see, it isn't just a design choice. It's really a carefully crafted message. So our mission here is simple. We take your sources, the articles, the research, your notes, and we pull out the key insights. Basically a shortcut to really grasping the psychology and the strategy behind the brands we meet every day. Get ready to peel back some layers. You might see things a bit differently after this.
Absolutely. And it's funny, we often think of brands as just names, right? A way to tell products apart. But there's so much more. Brands are actually significant assets. They're built on, very deliberate choices, big investments, and a whole strategy designed to influence how we think and what we do. It's this whole complex mix of value and expectation.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning now. What is a brand, fundamentally, and why is it worth?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes millions. The sources we looked at define it pretty simply. A brand is a name given to a product or group of products so it can be easily recognized. Seems easy enough.
Deceptively simple, though.
Exactly. Because the power in that concept is huge. Philip Kotler, the marketing guru, he famously said the most distinctive power marketers have is their ability to create, maintain, protect, and enhance. Strengthen the power of brands. It's like their superpower. And get this, for an example of that power, this was in the materials. BMW paid $60 million just for the Rolls-Royce name.
Wow.
Yeah. Not the factories, not the car designs.
Yeah.
Just the name. $60 million.
Just for the name and all that comes with it.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
What does that kind of money tell us about the invisible value a brand holds?
It tells us almost everything, really. That Rolls-Royce deal, it wasn't just about letters on a badge. It was about decades of reputation, trust, that aspirational quality, all bundled up in the name. And what's fascinating, and what our sources dig into, is how these things that seem quite abstract, they actually combine to create real financial value and loyalty. So the sources break down this brand value into a few key parts. First, there's brand awareness. And this isn't just knowing a brand exists. In today's world, with so much noise, it's about being top of mind, like the first thing that pops into your head.
Breaking through the clutter.
Precisely. Owning a bit of mental real estate, you could say. Often built through just constant, consistent exposure. Then you've got the brand promise. This is really what people expect. It's like an unspoken contract. It guides what we buy, sure, but also how we react if a brand messes up.
Ah, okay. Like a foundation of trust.
Exactly. And building on that, you get brand preference. This is where you actively start liking one brand more than another. A big step towards real loyalty. And all of this shapes the brand image, the whole picture people have in their minds. The personality, the quality, maybe its ethics, how relevant it feels.
Right.
And finally, it all adds up to brand equity. That's the actual value of the brand to its owners. It's so real, it often shows up on the company's balance sheet, like property.
So it's a tangible asset, even though it feels intangible.
Completely. Companies track it, they try to grow it. Understanding these bits helps you see a brand isn't just a label. It's a carefully built promise, a managed reputation, and a serious economic factor influencing us way before we decide to buy.
That really does reframe it. Not just marketing fluff, but a core business asset. Okay, so if a brand has built up this value, how does it actually stand out? Markets are so crowded. How do they carve out their own space? It sounds like brand positioning, right?
Exactly. That's the next piece of the puzzle.
So a company can position its brand by really highlighting specific features or benefits compared to competitors.
Yeah.
It's like creating a mental map.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
The sources mention using a positioning map. You can imagine plotting breakfast cereals, maybe. Not just by price, but is it healthy or indulgent?
Yeah.
Quick or something you take time over?
Each brand wants to own a specific spot on that map.
And fighting for that spot leads to differentiation then.
Right.
Which is where a company designs its product to be distinct and then tells everyone why it's different and better in its ads, its sales stuff, everything. The research had this great example. A UK mobile phone company. Instead of a broad campaign, they specifically targeted the hard-nosed businessman.
Yes. That's a classic differentiation play.
It seems so specific, almost niche.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind that kind of laser focus?
Well, it's about making the message hit home, making it feel relevant. If we look at that example, they weren't just selling phones. They were deliberately trying to separate their business services from their regular consumer stuff.
Okay, makes sense.
But also, they wanted to stand out from other companies offering business services, which might have been more generic. They figured, look, a hard-nosed businessman, Bit of a caricature, maybe. But you get the idea. Cares about different things.
Like reliability, efficiency.
Exactly. Maybe dedicated support, no fuss.
Yeah.
Just what they need for work. By talking directly to that profile, they aim to own that niche, to be the obvious choice for that specific customer.
So it's about creating that perfect fit, or the perception of it.
Precisely. And for you as a consumer, this is huge because companies are always doing this, trying to carve out that space in your head, often quietly. Every ad, every feature, it's in an attempt to position themselves uniquely. Understanding this helps you, look at marketing messages more critically.
Like seeing behind the curtain a bit.
Yeah, you start asking, who are they really talking to? What problem are they really trying to solve for them? And how are they trying to convince me they're the best fit? It gives you more agency, really. You're decoding, not just receiving.
That's a really useful way to think about it. Okay, so a brand finds its place, it differentiates. What next? Growth, right. But is expansion always good? Or can stretching a brand too far backfire? The sources talk about flagship and generic brands here.
To T approach it.
A flagship brand.
Yeah.
That's the big one, most important one for a company, right?
Uh-huh.
Like Coke for Coca-Cola. It's the icon.
A standard bearer, yeah. Defines the whole company sometimes.
Then there's a generic brand. That's a name used on lots of different products, like Nestle. You see it on tons of different foods, sometimes with another name too.
Exactly. Nestle's a prime example.
So what's the strategy behind choosing one path over the other? What are the pros and cons?
Well, they're quite different strategic bets. A flagship brand, like Coke, lets you pour all your focus into building one iconic identity. You aim for deep emotional ties, total dominance in a category.
The advantage being that intense loyalty, clear message.
Right. The downside is it can be harder to branch out. You might need whole new brands if you move too far from that core identity.
Okay. And the generic brand, like Nestle.
That's more about efficiency and leverage. You launch new things under a name people already know and hopefully trust. You get economies of scale in marketing, build a broad corporate reputation.
More flexibility across different types of products then.
Definitely. The risk, though, is the brand promise can get a bit fuzzy or diluted. Do you trust Nestle for coffee the same way you trust it for baby food? Maybe not quite as strongly as you trust a brand that only does coffee.
So it's a trade-off. Depth versus breadth. Focus versus reach.
You got it. It's a fundamental choice in brand architecture.
Which leads us nicely into brand stretching or brand extension. This is when a company uses that existing name on new kinds of products. Seems smart, use the recognition you've already built. But the materials warn that marketers say, hang on, there are limits. You can't just stick a famous name on anything.
No, definitely not.
So what are the dangers for the brand, and I guess for us as consumers, trusting that brand?
The big danger, the one companies really worry about, is brand dilution. It just makes the brand weaker, less potent. Think about a super high-end luxury car brand. What if they suddenly launched, budget cleaning supplies?
Slight chuckle.
Right. Doesn't quite fit. Exactly. Even if the cleaners were great, just associating the name with something so different could water down that exclusive luxury image of the cars. The brand becomes less special, less powerful in its main market.
The core promise gets muddled.
Totally muddled. The promise of luxury craftsmanship status is just worlds apart from the promise of a cleaning product. The identity blurs. And this brings up a really interesting point for us, doesn't it? What happens to that brand promise you rely on when a brand stretches too far? It risks losing its clear identity, its positioning, the very expectations you had. Apple stretched successfully. Computers, phones, watches, they kept a core promise of innovation, premium feel.
That worked.
But others, can you think of examples where a brand maybe stretched brilliantly into someone new? Or maybe went too far and ended up, confusing people or weakening itself?
That's a real tightrope walk, isn't it?
A very delicate balancing act. Leverage the equity you have, but don't destroy the focus and power that built it in the first place.
Wow. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground, from just defining a brand and its huge, often hidden value.
Right. That $60 million name.
Exactly. All the way through how brands position themselves, how they stand out.
Differentiation.
And then these big strategic choices around growth flagship versus generic, stretching the brand, and that crucial risk of dilution. Honestly, understanding this stuff gives you a completely different lens for looking at the world of business and advertising around us.
It really does. So maybe next time you pick up a product or you see an ad, just pause for a second. Think beyond just what it is. Ask yourself, What's the implicit promise this brand is making? How deliberately have they crafted that? Where does it sit in the market? What's it trying not to be? Is this expansion I'm seeing strengthening its core idea, or maybe weakening it for me?
That's a great challenge. A fantastic way to observe things more deeply. It makes the everyday much more interesting. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking questions. There are fascinating stories and strategies everywhere you look.